Watch out, ducks! Yep, we're blocking traffic. Okay, so it has realised that, whoa, what the hell? It just tried to turn right across there. Okay, that's definitely not good. G'day, I'm Paul. So we are inside a Tesla Model Y, and today we're going to do full self-driving supervised here in Australia. Tesla is about to roll this out in Australia and New Zealand. We'll be the first right-hand drive markets. We're doing a drive loop in Brisbane that's going to take us from a sort of regional area into the city, and I want to see what it's like. I'm going to run you through how it works, the experiences I've had with this technology, some of the downsides, and then I'm going to deviate from their curated route here, which they don't know about yet, but we're going to go on the hunt for a Bunnings. So to start it, we went through the whole process of setting all this up. It is beta software that they're running in the cars here at the moment, but it will roll out shortly to all customers here in Australia with compatible cars. So this has all been set up. We've gone through that whole process. To start our trip, we need to push and hold this, and then it says tap brake to confirm. Okay, tap the key card here. Release pedal to confirm. Okay, here we go, it's starting. So full self-driving hasn't been in Australia before. So previously we've had enhanced autopilot, and I'm going to run you through what that experience was like, because I had that in my previous Model Y. And this is interesting because in theory, I have to still have full control of the car, and that means having my hands and feet at the ready here. So if anything does go wrong, I'm going to jam the brakes on. But I want to get an experience here of how this works. So we're already breaking the speed limit. Sign there says 40 and we're doing 45. There we go, it's slowing down now. It didn't recognize the speed earlier. So what we're going to do here is a route that runs through to the city in Brisbane. So it's going to be a mix of roads, but in theory, I'm going to try and let the car drive as much as I can. And what we'll also do is, once we get closer to the city, I'm going to change the route here to take us to Bunnings to see how it copes with car parks here in Australia, because I'm sure they would have tested this route 1,000 times before allowing media to come here. So I'm just going to turn the voice off there. Okay, so here's our first intersection. It's a major highway here. Lots of trucks, lots of skid marks as well. Someone's had fun here. So we'll see how this copes with this. So Tesla uses just cameras. So unlike a lot of other brands that are using LiDAR, especially a lot of the Chinese brands, it's picked a good spot there. A lot of Chinese brands that are using LiDAR, which is basically a very sophisticated laser. They use it in unison with radar as well. Tesla is just using vision, and that requires a lot of complexity in terms of processing all of that vision rapidly. Tesla says this runs at 36 frames a second, and it utilizes cameras that face forwards, down the sides, out the back. So it is using its full suite of cameras to figure out where it's going, but at no point is it using radars or anything beyond just camera vision. And that, to me, I don't know, personally, I don't love the fact that there isn't those layers of redundancy, but this is how they're tackling this task. And obviously Tesla wants to be different. You can't just be the same as everyone else. So far, so good. Okay, I want to explain my experience with this type of vehicle before. So I was in Los Angeles recently, and I caught a Waymo. I was a little apprehensive with it because I didn't know what to expect. So for those of you that don't know, Waymo is a company that uses Jaguar I-Paces. They're all electric cars. They're running around San Francisco. They've got them in Arizona, Los Angeles. They're trying to roll out to as many places as they can, and they're restricted in terms of where they can go. So in Los Angeles, for example, you've got areas where they can and can't travel, and they'll be able to get you around. They will pull into driveways. This Waymo that I was in literally pulled into our hotel driveway, which is quite narrow, and picked us up from there. It's such cool technology. So when I hopped in first, I was really apprehensive because I didn't really trust it, especially with LA drivers. By the end of it, I'd caught maybe 10 of these. I was genuinely blown away at the technology. I felt very comfortable. The car was very confident in its decision making. What we constantly see with Chinese market cars in Australia in particular that have this sort of level 2 lane keeping assistance is a lot of them don't really work very well at all. And there's a big difference between cars that have all of these features and a suite of sensors. See, I'm just nervous here about these corners and having approaching vehicles. You can have all the sensors in the world, but if you don't have the ability to process the information that the sensors deliver you, the technology is virtually pointless. And you see LiDAR on heaps of Chinese market cars, but Do they have the technical capability of processing all of that footage? Probably not. Whereas Tesla here are very dedicated on the path of making this work with vision. And just to add a bit of difficulty to all of this as well, it is raining at the moment too. Let's see what it does. Watch out, ducks! Did you get one? No, just missed them. It did break a little bit though. It did break ever so slightly for them. Wow. So just then we had ducks crossing the road and it's actually started breaking, which is great because we didn't have to slaughter any ducks. We're having chicken for lunch, but that was close. But it worked, which is the main thing. It slowed down for the ducks. So in terms of the functionality of how all of this stuff works, I don't have to indicate, I don't have to do anything outside of, I guess, just being ready to take over here. And so far it's making all the right decisions, using the right indications, and we are on pretty well marked roads here, so this is not an easy task, but certainly a task that is easier thanks to decent line markings. We'll see as we sort of progress in towards the city and as we try and do our detour to Bunnings, how well it actually copes with all that. The interesting thing as well is I've got the auto wipers on, but it's not really wiping the screen, and given that the camera is up there, it seems to be working. So Tesla manages the driver here by saying, as part of all the terms and conditions you agree to, that this is supervised full self-driving. And that means that you must be in charge at all times. You are the person that is in control of the vehicle. The car is just assisting you with driving through the streets here. So I basically have to be ready to go all the time. There's a camera just up here, and that's monitoring me to make sure that I'm ready to go. If I start looking back at Igor in the back seat there who's filming, or if I start being distracted and taking away from having my eyes on the road, it will actually start giving me warnings to the point where it will disable the full self-driving software, and it will then basically strike me out for that drive. Now, one thing while we wait for these traffic lights that I think a lot of you are probably asking is what happens in terms of liability. Well, the driver is always responsible, and it's like when you install software in your computer. No one reads the 15 pages of agreements, but to set this up and to get it running, I had to agree to all this stuff, which in essence says that I'm in charge of what's going on. Despite the vehicle, actually driving, I still have to be here to take control if I need to. And you would have seen a lot of cases in the US where people are suing Tesla in the event where they die behind the wheel of a Tesla that is running in autopilot. There has been a lot of these cases, and I've been keeping an eye on them to see how it's all going to pan out. But in a lot of the cases that have actually gone to court and gone beyond a settlement, the driver has actually not been taking responsibility for the car. In one particular case, a driver dropped their phone when they went to retrieve it. The car was still on autopilot and went through a series of stop measures like a give way sign and other things that were meant to stop the vehicle, and the driver unfortunately died in that case. Tesla was forced to pay 33% of punitive damages to the family of that person. So the court determined that Tesla was partly responsible for that, but not fully responsible. So there is really a grey line here between how this works when it is tested in courts, but you can see that they are trying to deliver something that is completely different to what we are used to as drivers on the road. We're used to controlling the vehicle and it doing everything and occasionally using cruise control. But here, I haven't yet done anything since we left the RACQ Mobility Centre. The car has been doing everything, and to be honest, it actually has been doing everything pretty well. So we're about to enter the motorway here. So this is going to require us to go through a roundabout and then turn right onto the freeway. We're currently in the wrong lane for that to happen. So we'll see how it sorts itself out. There's a car next to us coming up here. You can actually see all of the visualization over here as well. This is what the camera is looking at and how it is interpreting its surroundings. So you can see all of those. Okay, so there you go. It's changed lanes. It's interpreting its surroundings by looking at signs like the roundabout sign, the traffic lights. It's looking at other vehicles and what they're doing. I'll be curious to see if at any point we have someone enter our lane, which is something that often happens, how it's going to handle that. But at the moment it is, okay, so this car in front of us is doing a last minute lane change. That's not for us, it's for them. Okay, so far so good. This is the other interesting thing as well. We're in a sort of tunnel here before we get onto the freeway. One of the things that's always confused me about this and that makes me kind of skeptical about the way that Tesla is going about this full self-driving stuff is Your eyes, if you exit a tunnel, your eyes take a moment to adjust, and a camera is effectively a set of eyes. It has a lens and an aperture, has a shutter speed. It is just like the human eye, and it's designed to adjust like the human eye. So when we go from dark to light, it takes a moment to do that. I always wonder how this vehicle and vehicles like this that just use camera vision actually cope with those sudden changes in vision. There was a lot of criticism about Tesla's on autopilot that had crashed into emergency service vehicles because the theory was that they had flashing lights and it was hard to determine what was going on. So, I mean, all of this stuff remains untested because we just haven't had any of this in Australia. So now let's talk about the cost of this. If you do buy a Tesla today, you get autopilot as standard, but autopilot is really just effectively traffic-aware cruise control. It's stuff that you find on virtually every car today. Autopilot won't do this type of, or this level of self-driving. The second you put an indicator on with standard autopilot that comes in all Teslas, it disables cruise control, and it's fine, but nothing sort of too crazy. One step up from that is called enhanced autopilot. And back when we had our Model Y that was this generation of car, they did a 30-day thing over Christmas where you could trial enhanced autopilot, and it was genuinely bad, scarily bad. It didn't know the correct speed limits. It made very last-minute decisions to change lanes. And I felt extremely uncomfortable using it because our Tesla at the time, the software that was on it, would do phantom braking where you would come up to an overpass and it would just hit the brakes because it thought that you were going to hit a solid wall. So I basically used it for a day and then refused to use it after that because I didn't want my family in the car while this stuff was running. Full self-driving is a completely different system to that. It uses completely different data. It is far more advanced in terms of the way that it processes everything. And it's far more, I guess when I say, it's willing to take more risks in the sense that it will behave more like a human as opposed to a computer. You find that a lot of cars today that have this type of technology, they're very rigid in terms of the instructions and how they change lanes. They won't change lanes for you in Kia products, for example, with some of their highway driving assistants. They need heaps of space. They're very timid in terms of how they work. This, on the other hand, is very confident. It's not overly fazed by vehicles being near the line. It doesn't sort of freak out when random stuff happens around the car. And that's what I found with the Waymo in the States, that it would stick within its lane and it really wouldn't mind if other cars veered near you, but it would take evasive action if it needed to. This feels very much the same, feels very advanced, and I feel strangely comfortable here behind the wheel. It doesn't feel out of touch or weird to me at all. But would I spend $10,000 on this? So enhanced autopilot is about $5,000 extra, full self-driving around $10,000 extra. And keep in mind that you still have to have your hands at or near the wheel. You can't just let go completely. We're not at that stage where it's unsupervised like you find in a Robo-taxi or in one of those Waymos. So you're paying $10,000 to effectively do a bit of extra work for you. It's not like I can use my phone at the moment. That is still illegal in Australia. I can't take my laptop out and do some work. So I think that at this stage, it's still way too expensive for what it is. But if they offer it as a monthly subscription, perhaps that will be appealing to some people to help take the strain out of, driving like we're doing now in stop-start traffic. The other cool thing as well with this visualization, I mentioned before that it gives you an idea of your surroundings and everything. You can actually go full screen visualization that minimizes the map over there, and it gives you a clear indication of what's going on around you. You can see ahead of us there, it's misidentified that Prado with a trailer as a truck. So, I guess that's for the sake of visualization, kind of the same thing. But to me, I always look at that and go, in my Tesla, if it shows, a dual cab ute when there's a truck next to me, it sometimes flips between a truck and a person and it doesn't really know what it's doing. It's like, all right, is that because the camera can't see properly, or is that just the software being funny? I don't know, but it's just one of those things that I always have question marks in my mind about how accurate this stuff actually is. I just want to touch on, what does this actually mean, this full self-driving stuff? So full self-driving supervised is a stepping stone to full self-driving unsupervised. And if you have a look at what they're doing with Waymo and Elon Musk's vision, which is to turn your car into a robo-taxi. And the whole concept is that if you drive your car to the train station or to the office, that your car can then drop you off, disappear, go and earn money during the day as a sort of Uber, and then come back and pick you up at the end of the day. Look, to me, I don't want randoms sitting in my car, especially if it's full of my crap. But I can see the appeal to some people. You have a car, it can go earn you money during the day, it's a utility. But more importantly, when it gets to the level of unsupervised, it kind of gives you the ability to really get work done. If I have a think about my commute to the proving ground, it's like a 2.5 hour drive, and I'm doing that twice a week to film our video content. Sometimes if I catch traffic, it can be a 3-hour commute to the proving ground each way. To me, I'd much rather have that 3 hours to sit down and be able to do work, to review some of the videos that the guys have put together. There's time better spent than me having to sit here behind the wheel. Obviously though, I value my safety, and one of the things that I am genuinely concerned about is when this stuff goes wrong and it doesn't work. If I don't have my eyes on the road and I've got my head buried in my laptop and I miss something that happens in front of me, whether it's a tyre that comes off a truck, or one time I had a ladder fall on the road that I didn't get to see until the car in front of me sort of zoomed out of the way. It's situations like that that I'm concerned about, and I don't feel confident or comfortable enough yet to relinquish control completely. But I can see instances where this is useful. If you look at the Waymo stuff that they have in the States, that has completely revolutionized how you get around places like Los Angeles. You can book a car, it will pull up on the side of the road, you can select your own music, you can set your own temperature, it's all logged. It is a really cool experience, and it means that you don't need to have drivers that are limited to a certain amount of time behind the wheel before they have to go home. You don't have to worry about a driver being tired, irritable, which sometimes happens. So yeah, I could see the benefits to it. Obviously, it could completely change the taxi industry. We've gone from taxis that rely on having licenses and it's an income for a taxi driver, to Ubers where you can bring your own car, you don't need a license, to now potentially having no drivers at all. It's a completely different system, but I just don't know whether we're ready for it yet. And more importantly, I don't know whether the cars are ready for other drivers on the road that don't know what they're doing. There are a lot of drivers that if they're driving inebriated or they're driving like maniacs, there is a potential that the car doesn't know how to handle that situation. Here, where everyone's in their lane and it's all very straightforward, it's fine. But so what's happening now, we're changing lanes because the guy in front of us was doing 80 k's an hour in a 100 zone. So the car has determined that we can be going faster than that guy, and we're now passing him. So that's pretty cool. So you can see here, it's misidentified that as a pickup truck with an enormous trailer, and now it's changed it to a four-wheel drive. So yeah, that kind of stuff I just think is still a bit strange. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking. We're going to get to our destination, which is another 28 kilometers from here. Once we get to that destination, I'm going to remove all the other stuff that the Tesla people have put in here and put in a local Bunnings, which is a hardware store. If you don't know what a Bunnings is, for our international viewers, I'm going to see how it goes getting there and what it does once we get to the car park and how well it handles that situation, because I think that'll be a real world test of how this works as opposed to this curated drive route that they have for us. Now, we're getting close to the city, another 7 k's or so. I want to see how it copes now with some of these busier streets and different road conditions. So, lane change is all good. So far, it's had a bit of an easy run. It's been pretty quiet in terms of traffic. They've picked a strategic time to have us out and about here. It's not sort of overly busy. But where we're heading now, it should be a little busier. We'll actually be driving very near the CarExpert office, so we'll see what it's like around there. I know that it can get pretty crazy around there, so we'll see what that's like. I mentioned before that it had that little whoopsie with the speed sign recognition. The rest of the trip has been fine. It's been sort of picking everything up. But that is one of the gripes that I had with enhanced autopilot when we had it back on our Tesla as well, that it was doing 100 in this speed zone that's been 80 for like 10 years. So I don't know where it got the 100 from, and it still thinks it's 100 today. So situations like that where what would happen if you got a speeding fine because it thought you were meant to be doing 100? Yes, I'm responsible, meant to be supervising, but yeah, that's a big old speeding fine in Victoria. Okay, so I have actually just adjusted this trip ever so slightly to get it to take us past the CarExpert office, just so I can see what it's like around there, because I know that it'll be busy around this time. It's like a set of turns and it's a little bit tricky down here, so I'll be curious to see how this goes. Okay, so far so good. You can't see it, but I've got my foot. Okay, so we're now straddling 2 lanes here. It's just cut off the driver behind us. I've got my foot hovering over the brake, just in case, to see how it goes. Yeah, and we're now crossing another line. Okay, and it's now also in the wrong lane because we need to turn right down here. Okay, it's changing lane, which is good. We'll see if it actually completes that manoeuvre. No. It had the perfect opportunity to get in behind that car, and now we're in the wrong lane down here. Yeah, so I'll be curious to see when this light goes green up here. So right now, it's got a green to turn left. We want to turn right, and what you're going to find now is that we're in completely the wrong lane. Great, so now we're blocking traffic. Yep, we're blocking traffic. Okay, so it has realised that, whoa, what the hell? It just tried to turn right across there. Okay, that's definitely not good. What happened, it says here, you tried to turn across an intersection. That's terrible. Okay, we'll just see if we can restart full self-driving there. If I put that into park, press and hold, tap brake to confirm, release brake pedal. Okay, so we're trying that again. Yep. So there you go. What we did was deviate from the route that Tesla gave us, and obviously Tesla would have tested their route 1,000 times, and you can see there that what is a bit of a technical, it wasn't even a technical intersection, it knew that it needed to be in the other lane. It just left it to the last second and didn't know what to do. So that's obviously a situation where if you were a passenger in this car as a sort of unsupervised taxi, it would make an absolute calamity of itself there. So yeah, not very good. Just so you know as well, when I had to intervene there to basically disengage the system, I yanked at the wheel, and initially it provides a fair bit of resistance, but once you get it past its sort of locking point, it realises that you're taking control of the vehicle, and it stops the ability for it to keep going. So it's just one of those things where it realises that it's gone a bit pear-shaped and it needs to fix it. Okie dokie, we are just about to drive past the CarExpert office here. There's Will. We'll give him a wave. Okay, so we just went past the CarExpert office. Now what I want to do is put in Bunnings as an additional stop for us on the way back to Mount Cotton. So I'm going to set Bunnings, this one here, because it's along the way, and it's going to take us into the car park. I want to see how it handles that, because that'll be interesting. So, okay, push and hold to start FSD supervised, tap brake to confirm. We're parked behind this car, so I'll be curious to see what it does here. Okay, let's put it in reverse, which is good. And that's going to back us out of there. There you go, it's in drive. A little head check, all good. Ripper, all right. So let's see what happens. We had the little incident back there. We'll see how it handles some of this additional stuff we're going to throw at it here. In particular, the car park at Bunnings, because that's going to be an interesting one. It won't have ever been to that Bunnings, so we're giving it brand new terrain to visit. This is another funny one as well. This street we're about to turn onto is one way, but with a lot of fast moving traffic. So we'll see how it handles this. Like, I don't even know how it can see down the road there. The fact that it can see all the way down there is pretty impressive. All right, there we go. It's picked its marker. And it's going to turn. Okay, we're going to go straight ahead here. All right. Now, this is going to be an interesting one where we've just made a left turn here to a give way sign. And it's a bit of a tricky one because we're merging onto an existing road. That traffic just has its own lane. We don't. It's actually quite difficult to see around this barrier here. Okay, so it has not slowed down at all just then. There were no cars coming, so I don't know whether it knew that there were no cars coming, but it just went straight through that give way sign, you know, which you would do if you were a driver and you looked, but it was tricky to see around there, and perhaps it had camera coverage, but I'm not entirely sure. Just up ahead here, we've got a bit of an obstacle, which is a roadworks zone. So we're going to have cars merging in with us, and then we're going to have some cones and stuff up ahead as well. So, okay, so far so good. It's let the cars in. There's the cones. It's seen the road worker who's on his phone. What a surprise. It's nailed that pothole. All right, a little narrow here next to the bus in the lane, but it is doing a good job of manoeuvring through there. Alrighty, then we're going to snake down here. I'll be curious to know how this deals with school zones, whether it interprets the 40 sign as just an always 40 zone, or whether it knows that these are the hours that school zones apply, or even, you know, school zones don't apply on school holidays. So how does it know whether it's a school holiday or not? This is stuff that I've still got questions about. One of the curious things as well, just with the way that Tesla does stuff, famously, that guy was reversing and stuck his car out. Famously, Tesla fired their PR team globally because they just wanted commentary to come from Musk. But in Australia, they've actually had like a skunk work PR operation for quite some time. And it's interesting today with this stuff that they're showing us being the first right-hand drive market to have this technology, no one wanted to answer any questions. So I can't ask anything. I can't tell you much because no one will actually say anything on the record. They didn't do Q&A. So, you know, if you were with a legacy car company showing you this technology, you'd be able to talk to engineers, quote people, and really just go through the motions of explaining how stuff works. But here I'm just relying on guesswork and stuff that I've seen on the internet. So it's a little bit disappointing that they just don't let those people speak and give us a clear indication of how this tech works, because there's some smart people behind all of this stuff. Like, I think everyone underestimates just how much has gone into allowing this car to drive right now on its own, supervised. Like, it's huge. The computing power, the lines of code to make this happen is insane. So I'd love to just be able to talk to people about that and get a bit of a vibe check on how it all works and to get a better understanding of the engineering behind all of this technology. But anyway, that's Tesla for you. We've got a bit of freeway driving ahead of us here. We're about to merge onto the freeway now. We've crossed an intersection. This is a Form 1 lane. We've got an ambulance next to us. Hopefully it will let the ambulance in. There we go. And then we've got to merge onto the freeway with faster moving traffic. So let's see how it handles that situation. All right, here we go here. Lane ends, merge right. Okay, it's got its indicator on. So far, so good. Excellent. All right, next stop, Bunnings. So I wanted to take a break from driving because there's a lot of assumed knowledge here about how this technology works. And I thought, let me just run you through how it works, how they train it, and how it comes up with the ability to do what it does. So basically Tesla, like I said, doesn't use any radar, LiDAR. It is just camera vision. So you've got a camera up the top there, you've got cameras on the side, on the B-pillar, on the back. It's able to stitch all of that together to create an image of the world around it. Then what it's able to do is take the image of the world around it and interpret that, so it knows that a truck is a truck and a car is a car and a pedestrian is a pedestrian. Then they can build rules around that. So obviously you don't want to hit pedestrians, but it's okay to drive over speed humps. So they collect a lot of that data. How do they collect it? Well, a lot of people think that they use customers to do this, and that's not how it works. They actually have a set of drivers that drive all over the place, and it's not to map the roads. It's not to say, okay, we've driven down this road, the car now knows what to do there. It is to say, okay, I'm driving on a freeway, I'm going to change lanes, and I know that it's safe to change lanes because there is that much space there. So it learns from those good drivers to understand how the car should behave in similar situations. So it will take the world around it, it will know how to behave, and as a result of that, it can be pretty confident with the way that it drives, and that is where it will do things like cut some corners if it is a quicker way to go and there's no oncoming cars. So there is a lot of smarts behind this tech, and it is all driven by computers inside. And the biggest advantage here is that as they train the cars with more data, such as a hook turn in Melbourne, which is one of the things they demonstrated it was able to do, they trained that in Australia to know what to do with a hook turn. As they put all of that data together, it's able to come into the computer here and it will know how to assess everything in real time. It doesn't have to communicate externally to do that. Now, where they will actually use customer data is when you report a fault. So if you take over at any point, it allows you to report a fault, and that will give them something to review so that they can fix it as part of an update. So pretty impressive technology, and this is the big difference between Tesla and other car companies that are using a litany of radars. Yes, you can have countless radars and sensors on the car. It is interpreting that data and understanding what to do with it, which is where a lot of those brands struggle to actually put it all together and make the car feel like it is driving like a human does. Now, when is all this coming? Well, the rollout is going to start in Australia and New Zealand, and it'll basically start with customers that already have FSD software, and it'll start with hardware for customers, Model 3 and Model Y. Then it will be available to purchase as an option. They're going to introduce a subscription model, and finally you'll be able to do a 30-day trial upon delivery as well. Anyway, back to the driving. Okay, moment of truth. Just detected that pedestrian crossing. Bunnings is 600 metres away. It's going to turn into the actual car park and loop back around to the front of Bunnings. So let's see what it does here. We'll see when it decides to change lanes, because we're currently in the wrong lane for that, and it's shortly after this intersection. And as you can see, there's a whole bunch of stopped cars there, so it's going to have to butt its way into there. And we'll see how it takes care of that. So, like I said before, this Bunnings, it will never have been to this Bunnings before. So it is going to have to interpret an Australian car park that's possibly busy. It's a weekday. There'll be a lot of tradies around, people coming in and out of car parks. I'm really nervous, so I'm just going to be on high alert here just to see what it does. We've got a cyclist up ahead there as well. So it's going to have to change lanes pretty soon, actually. So let's see how it achieves that. Very soon. The entrance is 100 metres away. Okay, so we've just moved in here. Okay, and now it's going to have to go into this little entrance here. Got a bloke over here doing some leaf blowing. We'll see how it handles him. Oh, another guy on his phone, just not watching. It's actually done a really good job there. It's slowed down for both of them. Okay, this is a really tricky car park, actually. I've never been to this Bunnings, by the way, so... All right, watch that sign. All right, it's detected that sign. See how it copes with this. So it's going to go downhill here. It's going to have to go around this corner as well. Okay. Oh. It has just stopped itself there. I don't know why. Okay, it's given up. I'm just going to put this into park briefly. Okay, so I'm going to press and hold that. Okay, so we'll just see. I think I just rested on the brake there and it cancelled. So I've just resumed the destination here. We'll just see how it now copes with this car park, because it's going to have to navigate through the car park here to get out of the Bunnings. Okay, so far so good. Left room for that guy. So we've got some more pedestrians coming up ahead, and it's going to have to navigate this turn as well at the front of the Bunnings. Yeah, before I felt my foot just ever so slightly on the brake pedal there, just because I was wanting to make sure we didn't collect anyone. Okay, so this is one way. Okay, so far so good. Okay, it's going to have to give way to this car here. No, and it's just sailed straight through that. It should have stopped there for that car, but it just went straight through that. We're going to stop now for this bloke, or lady, sorry. Okay, we're going to wait for them to get past us. I can see the steering wheel turning a little in anticipation. No cars coming that way or that way. See how it manages this. That ute is sticking out a fair bit. We'll see if it gives this guy enough room here. Yeah, it does. Okay. So in theory, if you were actually doing this, you wouldn't be allowing the car to self-drive if you were here. You'd just be parking on your own, but I'm sort of looking ahead to what this will do in the future. One of the challenges they've got as well with us being a right-hand drive market, we're obviously on the other side of the car, but everything is in reverse. So where in the States I would be on this side of the road, which is kind of what it's doing now. We have to be on the opposite side for Australia. So that obviously takes a fair bit of work to do that. So look, that's a pass for the Bunnings car park test, because it did everything it was meant to do there. It didn't give way to that lady, and it was a little bit sketchy around some of those areas, but for the most part, it actually didn't do too badly. So we've got a U-turn coming up here. Actually, here's a school zone sign. Let's see what it does there. So it's a 60, and it's a school zone for a 40. It's just ignored that, so it tells me that it knows, it's either missed it completely or that it knows that it's not school time. We'll see how it does a U-turn here as well. One of the other complications in Australia is that in New South Wales, and that's the state where Sydney is for anyone watching this internationally, you're not allowed to do any U-turns at intersections unless they're signposted. In Victoria, it's the opposite. You can do U-turns wherever you want unless it says no U-turn. I'm not 100% sure what the law is in Queensland. Here it says U-turn is permitted. Maybe they have the same rules as New South Wales. It is absolutely crazy that in Australia you have different road rules in different states, but it is unfortunately just the way that it is. So we'll see how it performs here and how it negotiates this U-turn. We've got plenty of room as well, so that shouldn't be a drama in terms of turning circle, but we'll see if it does what a lot of Australians do in their tiny little cars, where they go to do a U-turn, but they think they're driving a B-double, so they sort of just swipe it all the way around and spin it around. Hopefully this will be a bit more accurate in terms of the way that it turns the car around. The other thing as well is when you are doing a U-turn, you have to give way to traffic that is coming out of that road that is turning onto this road. So there's no cars there at the moment, but I presume if there was cars there, it would know that it has to actually give way to those. Here we go, I've got a green arrow. Let's see how it negotiates this now. Okay, so it's following. Oh, it's funny, that's the driver we failed to give way to earlier. All right, there we go. Nice, did that U-turn. All right, so basically our next stop is going to be back where we started at the start of the day. So I'm just going to let the car drive. When we get closer to there, I might do a bit of a wrap up and explain what my thoughts are on all of this technology based on the experiences I've had so far. Whoa, we have just chopped that motorbike. Hopefully he's not part of an outlawed motorcycle gang, because he might come and shoot us in a minute. Yeah, we really should have stopped for that motorcycle, but it didn't. And I hope he's not too annoyed. All right, we'll see if he is annoyed, because he will probably pin it past us in a second. Let's see what happens. All right, here we go. All right, he didn't notice. We live to... and off he goes. Wow, he is absolutely flying. All right. Okay, so we're 9 minutes away from returning the car back to where we started, and I thought I'd just wrap up with how this has gone and my impressions. I've got to be honest, I was quite apprehensive to start with, and no more apprehensive than I was when I rode in the Waymo. Once I rode in the Waymo, I was quite happy with how it all worked, and to a degree, I'm happy with how this works, but we did have a couple of those issues where, like in the city near the office, it just completely tried to turn right from a left-hand turning lane. There was one instance where I don't think it really checked to see if there were cars coming. So I think there's still a bit of refinement that can be done. The good news to that is that the refinement is always being done to these systems, and each software update includes refinements that they've made during the development process. So from that point of view, it's good. Do I feel safe behind the wheel? I do when I'm sitting here and I know that I can take control, but let's put yourself in the scenario where I'm sitting there and there's no one sitting here, or I'm on my laptop and we encountered that scenario in the city where it turned right instead of turning left and it went across traffic and a truck hit us. Like, yes, it would probably brake before the truck hit us, but this is all stuff that I don't want to take any chances on, and as a result of that, I wouldn't feel confident letting this do its thing unsupervised. And they're not doing that at the moment. This is very much stipulated as being supervised full self-driving. There's going to be a whole lot of law changes required before they can actually do unsupervised full self-driving. But you know, I am excited, genuinely excited for those times, because it means that at home I can have an old school V8 muscle car that I take out on weekends. But if I'm doing a boring, mundane commute that I'm doing every single day in conditions that are fairly predictable, it means that I can relax. And I genuinely actually feel pretty relaxed right now. This hasn't been sort of taxing. I haven't had to worry about stuff as much. It's just been doing its own thing. So yeah, that's my take on it. I'm curious to see what you guys think. Do you think that they've got this right? Would you feel comfortable being behind the wheel here or sitting over there and letting the car drive? More importantly, would you be comfortable spending $10,000 on this? Because previously you weren't able to transfer full self-driving like as an owner. It's stuck with the car, and they did change that recently, that you can move that stuff as you go, and that would be important to me. If I'm spending 10 grand on it, I want it to come with me as I purchase another car, given that it is software. All of these cars have the hardware to achieve this type of thing. So I think they need to have a think about that as well. But yeah, 10 grand is a big hit of money. Perhaps people will do it as a monthly subscription. I mean, we're doing everything else as a monthly subscription at the moment, so why would you not do a sort of a full self-driving thing as well? So yeah, keen for your feedback. Let me know what you think. I tried to be as open-minded as I could about this, and have tried to be as upfront as I can about this, showing you the positives and the negatives, but I am keen for your feedback. Let me know in the comments section below. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure you like it and you share it with your mates. But until next time, take it easy.